presented by Soundlibra.com. Explore more titles via the link in the description or at Soundlibra.com. Welcome to Raise Money Smart Kids. Teach value, responsibility, and money.
And in our very first episode, we're building the foundation for teaching kids about money.
Just a quick heads up before we jump in. While we love sharing these tips, this podcast is for educational purposes only and isn't professional financial or legal advice. Be sure to consult with a professional for your specific situation.
That's a great point. So, when we say financial literacy for kids, what are we really talking about? It sounds technical, but it's about more than just numbers, right?
Absolutely. Financial literacy for kids is about understanding the basic concepts of money and how it works. It's about developing a healthy relationship with money. This includes understanding what money is, where it comes from, how to earn it, how to save it, how to spend it wisely, and even how to think about giving it away. It's about cultivating good habits and responsible decision-making from a young age.
And why is it so crucial to start this early? Couldn't we just wait until they're teenagers or adults?
That's a common misconception, but starting early is key. Children are like sponges, and their habits start forming very young. By introducing financial concepts early, we can set them on a path of responsible financial behavior. It's much easier to build good habits from the ground up than to try and correct ingrained bad habits later. Imagine trying to teach someone to swim by tossing them into the deep end without any lessons.
That's a great analogy. So, by teaching them early, we're essentially giving them swim lessons for their financial lives. What are some of the core benefits of this early financial education?
Well, first and foremost, it builds confidence and competence. When kids understand money, they feel more in control and less anxious about it. They learn the value of hard work and the satisfaction of earning. This leads to greater responsibility because they understand that money doesn't just appear magically. It's a result of effort.
So, it's not just about the money itself, but the values that come with it, like responsibility and hard work.
Precisely. Secondly, early financial literacy helps prevent future financial problems. Kids who understand concepts like saving and budgeting are less likely to fall into debt or make impulsive, costly decisions as adults. They develop an awareness of needs versus wants, which is a fundamental skill for managing resources effectively.
I can see how understanding needs versus wants would be a huge lifelong skill, not just for money, but for all kinds of decisions.
It really is. Another huge benefit is fostering patience and delayed gratification. When a child understands that saving for a desired toy means waiting and sacrificing immediate smaller treats, they learn a vital life lesson. This skill is transferable to almost every area of life, from academic goals to career aspirations.
Delayed gratification. That sounds like a tough one for kids, but incredibly valuable. So, we're building a foundation of understanding, responsibility, and patience. What else?
We're also nurturing an entrepreneurial mindset. Even at a young age, children can understand that they can create value, offer a service, or develop a product that others might want. This isn't about pushing them to be millionaires, but about showing them they have the power to be resourceful and create opportunities. Think lemonade stands or offering to help a neighbor with a small chore for a small reward.
That's so true. It's about empowerment and ingenuity. And I imagine this also helps them appreciate the value of things more, not just money, but the effort that goes into acquiring them.
Absolutely. When children understand the work involved in earning money, they tend to be more mindful of how they spend it. This is a stark contrast to a generation that may have been shielded from the realities of personal finance, leading to a disconnect between effort and reward. Our philosophy with this podcast is simple: to empower parents and guardians to raise children who understand, respect, and can effectively manage money.
So, to recap what we've covered today, financial literacy for kids is about giving them a strong understanding of money, its value, and how to manage it. Starting early helps build essential habits like responsibility, patience, and smart decision making. It's about more than just numbers. It's about character development and setting them up for a more secure and confident future.
You got it, Lisa. This foundation is what we'll build upon throughout this series. We'll explore practical ways to teach these concepts, from allowances to budgeting and beyond.
I'm really excited to dive into those practical steps in our upcoming episodes.
And so am I. Next episode, we'll be exploring the concept of allowances. It's often seen as just pocket money, but we'll uncover how it can be a powerful tool for teaching financial responsibility. Next episode, understanding allowances, more than just pocket money. Welcome back. Last time we covered the foundation of financial literacy. Now let's tackle allowances.
Allowances. That word alone can bring up so many memories. For some, it was a hard earned reward, for others, a regular handout. But Alex, I think we can agree it's so much more than just pocket money.
Absolutely, Lisa. Think of an allowance as a child's very first financial training ground. It's where they get to practice managing a limited amount of money, making choices, and experiencing the consequences of those choices. It's a small-scale laboratory for financial skills.
A laboratory. I like that. So, what's the first big question parents grapple with when it comes to allowances? Is it how much to give?
That's a common one, but before we even get to the amount, many parents debate how to give the allowance. Should it be tied to chores, or should it be given unconditionally?
This seems like a significant philosophical difference. What's your take, Alex?
Well, there are valid arguments for both. Tying an allowance strictly to chores can teach a direct link between work and reward. It frames money as something earned through effort. Children learn that completing tasks leads to income.
And that's a powerful lesson, especially as they get older and enter the workforce. But what's the counterargument? Are there downsides to that approach?
The downside can be that some children might struggle to see the allowance as their own money to manage if it feels like a constant payment for duties. They might not develop the habit of budgeting or saving if they're always focused on earning the next payment. Also, some chores are just part of being in a family, like keeping their room tidy or helping with dishes. Some argue those shouldn't be directly tied to monetary reward.
That makes sense. So, the unconditional approach, then? What's the philosophy there?
The unconditional allowance, sometimes called a stipend, aims to give children a regular sum of money solely for the purpose of learning to manage it. The idea is that the money itself becomes the tool for learning. They receive it consistently, and then they have the freedom and responsibility to decide how to spend or save it. This approach often encourages more independent decision-making about money.
So, with unconditional allowances, the learning comes from the management of the money provided, rather than the earning of it.
Exactly. And often, parents who use this model might still expect children to contribute to household tasks as part of being a family member, but those tasks aren't directly linked to their allowance amount. They're learning about being part of a community and managing their own finances separately.
It sounds like there isn't one single right way. It's about what philosophy best suits the family and the child.
Precisely. And beyond the how, consistency is absolutely key. Whatever approach you choose, chore-based or unconditional, it's vital to be consistent with both the timing and the amount. If a child can't rely on receiving their allowance on a predictable schedule, or if the amount fluctuates wildly, the learning opportunity is undermined.
Imagine trying to budget if your paychecks were wildly different each week and you never knew when they'd arrive. It would be impossible.
A perfect analogy, Lisa. This consistency creates a sense of stability. It allows children to plan. They know that, for example, their weekly allowance is $10. They can then think, okay, I get $10. If I want to buy that toy that costs $20, I need to save for 2 weeks. That's a crucial budgeting and goal-setting skill being built right there.
So, consistency helps them understand the value of time and planning when it comes to achieving financial goals.
That's right. And this brings us to the amount. While there's no magic number, it should be enough for them to make meaningful choices. If it's too small, they can't really practice spending, saving, or even the concept of needs versus wants. If it's too large, the lessons might feel less urgent.
Making meaningful choices. So, it needs to be an amount that allows them to experience a little bit of temptation, maybe a little bit of sacrifice, and a little bit of satisfaction from making a good decision.
Exactly. An allowance should be viewed as practice money. It's their initial introduction to the concept of scarcity, the idea that resources are limited. They can't have everything they want. This is where the real teaching begins. They get to decide, should I spend this $5 on candy now or save it for that video game I really want next month?
This is where the value comes in, the value of money, the value of waiting for something bigger, the value of making their own decisions.
And the value of responsibility. When we give children an allowance, we are entrusting them with a sum of money and the responsibility of managing it. This trust is huge. It empowers them. It shows them that we believe in their ability to learn and grow.
It's their first taste of independence with their own resources. It's not just about learning to count or save coins. It's about learning foresight, planning, and self-control.
Absolutely. And as they grow, the allowance can evolve. For younger children, it might be a smaller amount, enough to buy stickers or a small toy. For teenagers, it might need to cover more expenses like some of their entertainment, maybe even contributions to phone bills or clothing. The key is that it grows with their responsibilities and their capacity to manage more complex financial decisions.
So, to recap, giving an allowance is more than just handing over cash. It's a deliberate tool for teaching children about earning, saving, spending, and making responsible choices. The approach, whether chore-based or unconditional, and consistency in timing and amount are crucial for effective learning. The allowance amount should be sufficient to allow for meaningful decision-making, helping children understand limited resources and the value of delayed gratification.
That's a fantastic summary, Lisa. It truly is one of the most practical and impactful ways we can begin to build a strong financial foundation for our children, instilling in them a sense of value and responsibility from a young age.
It's like giving them their first set of financial training wheels.
Couldn't have said it better. Next episode, saving, setting goals, seeing progress.
Looking forward to it.
Welcome back. Last time, we talked about allowances and how they teach financial responsibility.
That's right, Alex. Allowances help kids manage money and understand its value, setting the stage for key financial lessons.
And today, we're building on that. We're exploring the power of saving, which teaches patience and the joy of achieving personal goals.
The power of saving sounds so empowering. What does saving mean for kids? Is it just a piggy bank?
A piggy bank is a great start for little ones because it makes saving tangible. But fundamentally, saving means setting aside money for a future purchase or goal. It's about delaying immediate gratification for a greater reward later.
So, not spending right away, but waiting for something bigger.
Exactly. To make saving exciting, we help children set age-appropriate goals. For a preschooler, it might be a small toy. For an older child, a video game, a book, or a trip. These goals can grow with them.
So, connecting saving to something they really want gives it purpose.
Precisely. Now, for a practical and engaging method, especially for younger kids, try the save, spend, share jar system. You'll need 3 distinct containers.
Okay, 3 containers. What goes where?
When your child gets money, help them divide it. One container is for saving. That's for their goal. Another is for spending, for immediate small wants. And the third is for sharing, to teach generosity and helping others.
That's brilliant. It visually shows that money can be used in different ways.
Indeed, this saving container focuses on their goal. The spending container lets them practice making choices now. And the sharing container builds empathy. It's a well-rounded approach to money management.
So, by dividing the money, they learn that saving is one of many important ways to use their funds.
Absolutely. And this leads to discussing their progress. Seeing this saving container fill up is motivating. For younger kids, use visual aids like a chart where they color in a section for each dollar saved, or color parts of a drawing of their desired toy as the money grows.
That's a wonderful way to make the abstract idea of saving more concrete and reinforce their efforts.
It does. It helps them understand that consistent saving leads to a bigger reward. It teaches patience, showing that good things come to those who wait and work for them. This is a vital counterpoint to instant gratification.
And it really reinforces the value of the money itself. When they've saved for that toy, they'll cherish it more than if it was just given to them.
Significantly more, they understand the effort. They can proudly say, I saved for that. That sense of accomplishment builds self-esteem and a healthy relationship with money, connecting earning, saving, and achieving.
So, to recap, we've discussed setting age-appropriate saving goals, using the save, spend, share containers for practical management, and visually tracking progress to motivate kids and teach patience.
That's a perfect summary, Lisa. These steps, setting goals, dividing funds, and visualizing progress, build a saving habit. It's not just about money. It's about discipline, patience, and understanding that financial goals are achievable with consistent effort.
It truly fosters responsible financial behavior from the ground up, all tied to understanding the value of their allowance.
Exactly. The allowance provides the resources, and saving teaches them how to use those resources for future aspirations. It's a continuous learning loop.
This episode has shown that saving isn't a chore, but an exciting path to achieving dreams.
And that's the mindset we aim for. In our next episode, we'll explore the crucial difference between needs and wants, helping kids navigate that decision jungle.
Navigating the decision jungle sounds like a challenge we're ready for.
It will be. Join us next time as we tackle needs versus wants. Welcome back to Raise Money Smart Kids. Last time we covered the power of saving.
That's right, Alex. We learned that saving builds a bridge to future possibilities. Today, we're tackling a fundamental skill, distinguishing between needs and wants.
The decision jungle can be tricky. Understanding what you truly require is the first step to wise money choices.
So, Alex, what's the difference between a need and a want?
A need is something essential for survival and well-being. Without it, you can't live a healthy or safe life. These are the non-negotiables.
For children, what falls into that category?
The most basic needs are food, water, clothing, and shelter. Beyond that, education is a fundamental need, and healthcare is critical.
You can't function without those. Now, what's a want?
A want is something nice to have, something that brings pleasure or improves your comfort, but it's not essential. Wants add enjoyment, but life continues well without them.
So, if food is a need, a toy robot is a want?
Exactly. A nutritious meal is a need. A toy robot that makes noises and flips? That's a want. You don't need it to survive.
How can parents help children navigate this distinction?
Through everyday examples and conversations. At the grocery store, you might say, we need apples for a healthy snack, but this candy is something we want. It's a treat, not something our bodies require to be strong.
That frames them as different categories. What about teenagers?
For teenagers, lines blur. A smartphone might feel like a need, but is it essential for survival? Probably not. Ask them, can you still communicate without this specific model? Or would not having this genuinely harm your health or safety?
It's about critical thinking, not deprivation.
Absolutely not. Wants bring joy and express individuality. The key is understanding the difference to prioritize. Ensure your needs are met first, then use resources wisely for wants.
This connects directly to saving, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. If you want a video game, you'll need to save. If you need new shoes because yours are worn out, that's a priority.
When children understand this, they make informed decisions about their money. They might save for a bigger want or spend on something enriching.
This skill builds over time. By teaching this foundational concept, we equip them with a powerful tool for financial responsibility.
It's about developing self-control and realizing resources are finite. You can't have everything, so you must choose what's most important.
Think of your needs as the sturdy foundation of a house. Your wants are the decorations that make it a home.
I love that analogy. So, needs are essential for survival and well-being. Wants are desirable but not essential.
Learning this distinction involves ongoing conversations, real-life examples, and critical thinking. We foster responsible spenders by helping children meet needs first and make conscious choices about wants.
This vital knowledge lays the groundwork for budgeting and entrepreneurship.
Indeed, that brings us to the end of today's episode. Next episode, fostering the entrepreneurial spirit in our young ones.
Join us for episode 5, Fostering the Entrepreneurial Spirit, Little Innovators.
Welcome back to Raise Money Smart Kids. Last time, we dove deep into the idea of needs versus wants. Today, we're sparking something truly exciting, fostering the entrepreneurial spirit in our little innovators.
Oh, I love this topic, Alex. It's about more than just earning money. It's about building confidence, creativity, and a fantastic problem-solving mindset. So, what does it really mean to encourage entrepreneurship in children?
At its heart, it's about nurturing that innate curiosity and drive that kids often have. It's about helping them see opportunities where others might not, and empowering them to create something of value. We're not talking about complex business plans here. We're talking about sparking ideas and helping them take those first steps.
That makes sense. So, how can parents help cultivate this entrepreneurial spirit? Are there specific activities or approaches you recommend?
Absolutely. One of the simplest ways is to encourage creative play. When kids are building with blocks, drawing, or even just playing make-believe, they're already experimenting with ideas and solutions. We can ask them questions like, what if we build a taller tower? Or, how can we make this fort even more amazing? This encourages divergent thinking.
That's a great point. It's about reframing everyday play as a foundation for big ideas. So, thinking about actual ventures for kids, what are some age-appropriate examples?
For younger children, think about small, manageable projects. A lemonade stand, as classic as it is fantastic. It teaches them about sourcing ingredients, setting a price, customer service, and managing a small amount of money. Another idea is creating and selling simple crafts. This could be painted rocks, handmade friendship bracelets, or even decorated cookies.
I used to love making friendship bracelets, and selling them felt like such an accomplishment. So, it's about tapping into their existing interests and skills. What about slightly older kids, say preteens?
For preteens, we can explore projects that require a bit more planning and perhaps a slightly larger investment of time. Think about offering simple services. This could be dog walking for neighbors, lawn mowing for easy areas, or even helping seniors with small tasks like carrying groceries or tech assistance. Another idea is to create and sell something digital, like simple artwork or custom greetings.
That's brilliant. It really shows them that their skills and efforts have real-world value. It's not just about handing them money, it's about them earning it through their own initiative.
Exactly. And this brings us to a crucial element, problem solving. When a child wants to start a small business, they'll inevitably face challenges. Maybe their lemonade isn't selling as well as they hoped, or they're running out of supplies. These are opportunities, not roadblocks. We guide them to think, okay, what can we do differently? How can we attract more customers? Where can we get more lemons?
It's about teaching them resilience, isn't it? Instead of giving them the answer, you help them find their own solutions. This builds so much confidence.
Absolutely. And speaking of confidence, the satisfaction of earning money through their own direct efforts is immense. It reinforces the concept of value, that their time, creativity, and hard work translate into tangible rewards. This is a powerful lesson that extends far beyond just pocket money.
So, to recap for our listeners, fostering the entrepreneurial spirit in kids involves encouraging creative play, identifying simple and age-appropriate ventures, nurturing their problem-solving skills, and celebrating their accomplishments. It's about empowering them to see themselves as creators and earners.
That's a perfect summary, Lisa. And remember, it's not about the amount of money they make. It's about the learning process, the skills they develop, and the confidence they build. These are lessons that will serve them well throughout their lives, no matter what path they choose.
It really is about equipping them with a mindset that will help them navigate the world. They're learning to innovate, adapt, and take initiative. These are invaluable traits.
Indeed, we're not just teaching them about money. We're teaching them about their own potential. We're helping them understand that they have the power to create, to contribute, and to succeed. And that's a truly wonderful thing to witness.
It really is. So, we've covered creative play, service-based ventures, craft sales, and the importance of problem solving. We've explored how to nurture the entrepreneurial spirit in children, encouraging them to think creatively and take initiative. We've discussed simple ventures like lemonade stands and craft sales for younger kids, and service-based opportunities for older ones. We highlighted the importance of problem solving and the immense satisfaction that comes from earning money through their own efforts. This builds confidence and teaches them the value of their work. Next episode, delayed gratification, the sweet taste of waiting.
Welcome back to Raise Money Smart Kids. Last time, we explored how to spark that entrepreneurial spirit in our little ones. Today, we're diving into a skill that's absolutely foundational for long-term financial success: delayed gratification.
Delayed gratification. It sounds a bit like a fancy grown-up term, doesn't it? But I think most of us have experienced it. It's essentially the ability to resist an immediate reward in favor of a later, larger, or better reward. Think about skipping that dessert tonight so you can have your favorite treat tomorrow.
Exactly. And for kids, learning this skill early can make a world of difference. It's about teaching them patience, impulse control, and the understanding that sometimes waiting is worth it. Remember when we talked about saving in episode 3? Delayed gratification is the engine that drives successful saving.
Ah, yes.
Saving is all about putting money aside now so you can buy something bigger or better later. So, delayed gratification is the why behind the how of saving. It's the mental fortitude to keep saving even when you really want something right now.
Precisely. Imagine a child who wants a new toy. If they have the money for a small, immediate toy, they might spend it right away. But if they can delay that small purchase and save up their allowance for a month or two, they could get a much bigger, more exciting toy. That's delayed gratification in action.
And it's not just about toys. This principle applies to so many areas of life, especially finances. It's about choosing to save for a down payment on a house instead of buying a fancier car today, or investing for retirement instead of splurging on a lavish vacation every year. The long-term benefits are just so much greater.
So, how do we actually teach this to kids? It's not always intuitive for them, as their young brains are often wired for immediate pleasure. One of the simplest ways is through an allowance system, which we've touched on. When they have a set amount of money, they naturally encounter choices about spending it now or saving it.
And that's a great starting point. But sometimes kids need a little more structure or guidance. What are some practical techniques we can use?
Well, one classic method is the marshmallow test, or variations of it. You present a child with a choice, one small treat now, or two of the same treats if they can wait for a short period. It's a tangible way for them to experience the concept.
I've heard of that.
It's about building their tolerance for waiting. And when they choose to wait and get the bigger reward, it reinforces that positive behavior.
Absolutely. And it's important to frame these choices positively. Instead of saying, don't buy that little thing, we can say, if you're willing to wait a little longer, you can get this even better thing. It shifts the focus from deprivation to a desirable future outcome. We want them to see waiting as an opportunity, not a punishment.
That's a great reframing. So, it's about making the waiting period feel manageable and the future reward feel substantial. How else can we help them?
We can use visual aids. For older kids, creating a savings chart or a progress tracker can be very motivating. Seeing their savings grow physically or on a chart makes the abstract concept of saving more concrete. They can literally see their goal getting closer.
Like a thermometer that fills up as they save?
Exactly. Or a jar where they can see the money accumulating. These visual cues help bridge the gap between the immediate desire and the future reward. It's a constant reminder of what they're working towards.
I can see how that would be powerful. It's like planning a surprise party. You have to wait for the big reveal, but the anticipation itself can be exciting.
That's a perfect analogy, Lisa. Now, what about when they don't succeed? When they give in to the immediate desire? It's crucial that we don't shame them. Instead, we use it as a learning opportunity.
Ah, the stepping stone to wisdom concept we'll explore more later. So, if they impulsively spend their money on something small and then regret it because they really wanted the bigger item, what's the recommended approach?
We can guide them to reflect. How did you feel when you bought that? Does it compare to how you thought you'd feel about the bigger toy? It's about helping them connect the dots between their choices and their feelings about the outcome. This helps them build that internal compass for future decisions.
So, it's not about punishing mistakes, but about helping them learn from them. And this reinforces the value of their goals.
Precisely. We also want to celebrate their successes. When they demonstrate patience and achieve a savings goal through delayed gratification, make a big deal about it. Acknowledge their effort and their discipline. This positive reinforcement is key to embedding the habit.
That makes sense. Positive reinforcement is so much more effective than negative. So, to recap, delayed gratification is all about teaching kids the power of waiting for a greater reward. We can use simple exercises like the marshmallow test, visual aids like savings charts, and positive reinforcement for successes.
And importantly, we use mistakes as learning opportunities, helping them understand the connection between their choices and their financial well-being. It's a skill that doesn't just benefit their wallets. It builds character, resilience, and a more mature approach to life's many decisions.
It truly is a cornerstone of financial literacy. The ability to defer pleasure now for something more meaningful later is a superpower in a world of instant gratification.
It really is. And by nurturing this skill in our children, we're setting them up for a lifetime of smarter financial choices and greater well-being.
Fantastic. So, we've covered the why and the how of delayed gratification. What's next on our journey?
Next episode, the gift of giving, cultivating generosity. Welcome back. Last time we explored delayed gratification. Now let's tackle the power of giving.
That's right, Alex. We've focused on saving, budgeting, and earning. Today, we're talking about generosity and the joy of helping others.
Absolutely, Lisa. Financial well-being isn't just about what you have. It's about what you can do with it to impact the world positively. This lesson can start simply.
So, how do we introduce giving to kids, especially when they're used to allowances and gifts? What are practical ways to make generosity part of their financial journey?
A great starting point is making giving tangible. For younger children, this might mean choosing gently used toys to donate. They physically see their belongings go to a new home. This helps them understand that giving means letting go of something they possess.
That makes sense. It's active participation, not just an abstract idea.
Exactly. As they get older, you can expand this to their allowance. Perhaps a small portion is earmarked for giving. This teaches them to budget for generosity, just as they budget for saving or spending. They decide together, with guidance, which charity or cause to support.
I like that. It normalizes giving within their financial planning. It's an integrated part of managing their money.
Precisely. And it's not just about money. We can encourage children to give their time and talents too. Volunteering at an animal shelter, helping a neighbor, or creating handmade cards for a nursing home. These are valuable acts of generosity that don't require money.
That's a wonderful point, Alex. It broadens the definition of giving beyond just money. It teaches them to use their skills and energy for others.
Indeed, when they do contribute financially, it's beneficial for them to understand where that money is going. If they donate to a food bank, for example, you could discuss what a food bank does and who it helps. This connects their action to a real-world impact, making the act of giving more meaningful.
So, it's about connecting their donation to the positive outcome. This helps foster empathy, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Empathy is a cornerstone of generosity. When children see the needs of others and understand how their contribution can help, they develop a deeper sense of connection and compassion. This builds character.
It sounds like this can be a rewarding experience for the child, too. There's happiness that comes from knowing you've made a difference.
There is, and that's a crucial part of the lesson, the intrinsic reward of giving. When children experience the joy of making others happy or contributing to a good cause, they're more likely to continue this behavior. You can help them recognize this feeling. How did it feel to help those animals?
So, we're not just teaching them to give, we're teaching them to enjoy giving.
Exactly. It becomes an integrated part of their worldview, not a chore. This doesn't mean neglecting their own needs. It's about balance. We want them to understand their own financial responsibilities while also recognizing their capacity to contribute to the wider community. Clear boundaries and expectations are important.
Right.
So, a portion of their allowance for giving, choosing a cause together, and understanding the impact. And also, understanding that it's okay to say no if they've already allocated their giving funds or want to save for a personal goal.
Precisely. Now, a common question is, when is the right age to start talking about giving? The answer is as early as possible. Even very young children can understand sharing. Sharing a toy, sharing a snack. These are the early building blocks.
So, the principles can be introduced before they have formal allowances.
Exactly. For preschoolers, it might be about picking out an item to donate to a charity drive. For elementary schoolers, it can evolve into a designated savings jar for giving. And for teenagers, it becomes more sophisticated, perhaps involving research into different charities.
And this journey of learning about giving also helps them understand the value of money differently. They see that money isn't just for personal consumption, it can be a tool for positive change.
That's a very astute observation, Lisa. It shifts their perspective from a consumer mindset to one of stewardship. They begin to see money as a resource that can be used in multiple ways, including for the greater good. This broader understanding is essential for developing responsible adults.
So, to recap for our listeners, cultivating generosity involves making giving tangible, integrating it into their budgeting, encouraging contributions of time and talent, connecting actions to impact, fostering empathy, and celebrating the joy of giving. It's about balancing their own needs with their capacity to help others.
You've summarized it perfectly, Lisa. And remember, this isn't a one-time lesson. It's an ongoing conversation and practice. By weaving generosity into their financial education, we're not just raising money-smart kids. We're raising compassionate, engaged, and contributing members of society.
Thank you, Alex.
This has been a really inspiring topic. In our next episode, we'll be tackling a very important part of financial learning, learning from financial mistakes. It's a crucial stepping stone to wisdom.
Indeed it is. Join us next time for Learning from Financial Mistakes, a stepping stone to wisdom. Welcome back to Raise Money Smart Kids. Last time, we explored the importance of generosity and the joy of giving. Now, let's tackle financial mistakes, incredibly valuable for our children's financial growth.
It's easy to want to shield our kids from disappointment, but they will make financial missteps, whether it's overspending or a venture that doesn't pan out. These are opportunities.
Exactly. Think of learning to ride a bike. Wobbles and tumbles teach balance and steering. Financial mistakes are similar, teaching lessons pure success can't.
So, how do we create a safe space for them to learn without judgment? I've seen my child look so crestfallen after a spending regret.
First, reframe our perspective. See mistakes not as character flaws, but as data points. When a child overspends their allowance on a toy they quickly tire of, that's valuable data. They learn about impulse control and the fleeting nature of some purchases.
So, instead of saying, I told you so, we acknowledge their feelings and help them analyze what happened.
Precisely. We ask open-ended questions like, how does it feel now that you spent all your money? Or what did you learn from buying that particular item? The goal is reflection. What do they learn about their spending habits? About the value of money versus the excitement of a purchase?
That's a great point. It's about guiding them to draw their own conclusions. What about when they've tried a small business, like a lemonade stand that didn't do as well as hoped?
That's a fantastic learning ground. A lemonade stand, or any small entrepreneurial endeavor, offers teachable moments. Maybe they priced their lemonade too high. Maybe they didn't advertise well enough. Or perhaps the weather wasn't in their favor. Each teaches a unique lesson.
So, we'd help them look at those factors?
Absolutely. We can brainstorm. What could we have done differently next time? Did they consider the cost of the lemons and sugar? Did they think about where to set up their stand for maximum visibility? These are real-world business decisions.
And if the venture didn't make profit or even lost money, it's still a win in terms of experience.
It's a massive win. It's much better to experience a small financial loss on a lemonade stand than a larger one later in life on a significant investment. This early exposure normalizes the idea that not every idea is a home run, and that's okay. It builds resilience.
Resilience is a crucial life skill. It helps them bounce back when things don't go as planned in any area of life, not just finances.
And it teaches them about risk assessment. They learn about external factors, and sometimes, despite best efforts, things don't work out. The key is what they do next. Do they give up? Or do they analyze, adapt, and try again?
I also think it's important to differentiate between a genuine mistake and a repeated, unlearned behavior.
That's a critical distinction. If a child consistently makes the same mistake, say always spending their entire allowance on candy on the first day, then we might need to adjust our approach. This might mean exploring why they're not learning. Is there an underlying emotional need? Are we not providing enough structure?
Or perhaps we need to have a more direct conversation about the consequences they're experiencing.
Yes, we can revisit the concept of needs versus wants, or the importance of delayed gratification. If they're hungry later in the week and have no money for a snack because they spent it all, that's a direct, tangible consequence they can understand. It's a powerful teacher.
So, the process looks something like this. A child makes a financial mistake. We acknowledge and validate their feelings without judgment. We then help them analyze the situation, asking what they learned and what they might do differently. If it's a repeat behavior, we dig a little deeper to understand the root cause.
That's a perfect summary. Throughout this process, we reinforce that mistakes are not final. They are temporary setbacks, valuable learning moments, and stepping stones on the path to becoming financially capable adults. We equip them with the tools to navigate a complex financial world by teaching them how to learn from each pitfall.
It's about building their financial confidence, not just their financial knowledge. And mistakes, when handled correctly, are a huge part of that confidence building process.
Indeed, we're fostering a generation that is not afraid to try, not afraid to learn, and not afraid to make adjustments when needed. They are becoming resourceful, resilient, and ultimately, much smarter with their money.
It sounds like we're raising kids who understand that financial wisdom is often earned through experience, even the tricky bits.
Exactly. They are learning that every financial decision, and even every decision that doesn't quite work out, contributes to their growing understanding. It's about empowering them to see missteps as opportunities for growth, ensuring they become better decision makers throughout their lives.
Thank you, Alex.
That really makes the idea of financial mistakes feel much less daunting and a lot more productive.
My pleasure. And on that note, that brings us to the end of this episode. Next episode, budgeting basics for young minds. Welcome back to Raise Money Smart Kids. Last time, we explored the crucial difference between needs and wants. Today, we're diving into a topic that builds directly on that, budgeting basics for young minds.
Budgeting can sound like a big, scary word, can it? But Alex, you've got some really simple ways to introduce it to kids. What exactly is a budget when we're talking about children?
That's a great question, Lisa. At its heart, a budget is simply a plan for your money. It's about deciding how you're going to spend the money you have. Think of it like a treasure map, but instead of islands, you're mapping out where your money goes.
A treasure map for money. I like that analogy. So, it's not just about spending, but about planning?
Exactly. And it's incredibly empowering for kids. When they create a budget, they're taking control. We can start with something super simple. For younger children, we can talk about their allowance. Let's say a child gets $5 a week. A basic budget might be $1 for saving, $2 for immediate wants, and $2 for future savings or perhaps for giving.
So, right away, they're learning to divide their money into different categories for different purposes. That's fantastic. What kind of categories do you recommend?
We can introduce a few key categories. The first is spending money. This is for those immediate wants we talked about, like a small toy, a treat, or a game. It's the fun money they can use right now.
That's usually the most exciting category for kids, I'm guessing.
Absolutely. The second is saving for goals. Remember when we discussed saving for specific items? This category is where that money goes. So, if a child wants a new bike that costs $50, they'll allocate a portion of their money here week after week until they reach their goal. This teaches them patience and the reward of working towards something larger.
This connects back perfectly to the concept of delayed gratification. They see how consistent saving leads to achieving a bigger dream.
Precisely. And the third category, which we touched on last time, is giving. This could be saving up to donate to a favorite charity, buying a small gift for a friend or family member, or even just putting some money aside to help someone out. Fostering generosity is so important.
So we have spending money, saving money for goals, and money for giving. That's a clear, actionable trifecta for any child. How can parents help implement this?
Tools can be really helpful. For younger kids, a simple piggy bank with 3 compartments or even 3 separate jars can work wonders. Each jar is labeled spend, save, and give. When they receive their allowance, they can physically put the money into the relevant jar. This hands-on approach makes the concept very tangible.
Jars are brilliant. They can visually see how their money is being divided. It's so much more concrete than just talking about it.
It really is. As they get a bit older, perhaps around age 8 or 9, we can introduce a more structured approach. A simple budgeting worksheet can be introduced. This might be a piece of paper divided into columns. One column for money in, which would be their allowance or any earnings. Then columns for spend, save, and give. They can write down their planned allocation for the week or month.
And this worksheet can also help them track what they've actually spent, right? To see if they stuck to their plan?
You've hit on a crucial element, Lisa. Tracking is the next step after planning. It's about understanding where the money actually went. For a worksheet, they could add columns for actual spending and maybe even a difference column. This helps them see if they overspent in one area and underspent in another. It's a learning process, not a test.
So, if they plan to spend $2 on snacks but ended up spending 3, they can see that difference. This highlights the reality of their choices.
Exactly. And it's important to frame mistakes not as failures, but as learning opportunities. If they consistently overspend in their spend category, it means they might need to adjust their plan. Perhaps they need to be more mindful about their purchases in that category.
It sounds like we're teaching them to be financial detectives, figuring out the story behind their money.
That's a perfect way to put it. And to make it even more engaging, parents can involve kids in their own family budgeting discussions in a simplified way. For example, we have this much money for groceries this week. What healthy snacks can we plan for that fit within that amount? This makes budgeting a shared, practical skill.
That's a great way to normalize it. It's not just about their little allowance, it's about how families manage resources together.
Absolutely. And remember the concept of tracking? For mobile-savvy teens, there are many simple budgeting apps. But for younger kids, the jars and worksheets are often more effective because they require active engagement. The key is consistency. Regular check-ins, maybe once a week, to review their spending and their budget plan are essential.
So, to recap for our listeners, budgeting for kids starts with a simple plan: how much money they have and how they'll divide it. We've discussed 3 core categories: spending money for immediate wants, saving money for future goals, and money for giving.
Right. And we've talked about practical tools like labeled jars for younger children and simple worksheets for older kids. The crucial element of tracking their actual spending helps them learn and adjust their plans. It's all about empowerment, control, and building good habits from an early age.
It's amazing how these foundational skills can set children up for a lifetime of financial well-being. By teaching them to budget now, we're giving them a powerful tool for their future.
Indeed, they learn to make informed decisions, understand the value of their money, and work towards their dreams.
Well, that's a wrap on budgeting basics for young minds. Next episode, the Teenager's Financial Toolkit: Smart Spending and Earning.
Welcome back to Raise Money Smart Kids. Today, we're tackling a crucial stepping stone, the Teenager's Financial Toolkit, focusing on smart spending and earning.
It's true, Alex. As kids move into their teenage years, their financial world expands. They have more independence, more opportunities to spend, and often more opportunities to earn their own money. It's a perfect time to equip them with the skills to navigate this evolving landscape.
Exactly. So, let's start with earning. For many teens, a part-time job is their first real experience with earned income. This is invaluable. It teaches them the value of hard work the concept of an hourly wage, and the responsibility that comes with a commitment.
And from that earned income, we can bridge into smart spending. We've talked about needs versus wants before, but for teenagers, this becomes even more relevant. They're encountering peer pressure, advertising, and a wider array of choices. How do we help them make those wise decisions?
One of the best ways is to encourage them to track their spending. It sounds simple, but many adults don't do it. Suggest they keep a small notebook or use a simple app to jot down everything they spend money on for a week or two. This often reveals surprising patterns.
Oh, I can imagine. Suddenly seeing how much is going towards snacks or impulse buys can be a real eye-opener. So, tracking leads to awareness. What's the next step after they've become aware of where their money is going?
The next step is encouraging mindful spending. This means pausing before they buy something. They can ask themselves, do I really need this? Or is this a one I can afford right now? Or should I save for something more important? This is where delayed gratification, which we touched on earlier, really comes into play.
So, it's about building that habit of thoughtful purchasing. Instead of just reaching for their wallet or phone at every opportunity. And when they do earn money, how can they best manage it?
This is where we introduce a simple framework for managing their earnings. Think of it like a personal budget, but tailored for their evolving income and expenses. We can call it the earn, save, spend, give model, just adapted for their earnings.
That sounds straightforward. So, the earn part is their job income. Then save. What does that look like for a teen?
Saving for teens can be for multiple goals. It could be for a larger purchase they've been eyeing, like a new phone or a gaming console. It could also be for future expenses, like saving for a car or even a portion of their college education. Encouraging them to set specific savings goals makes it more concrete and motivating.
And then the spend portion. This is where smart spending principles really get put into practice.
Precisely. They can allocate a portion of their earnings for immediate spending, for going out with friends, buying clothes, or whatever small treats they choose within their budget. The key is that this spending is deliberate and planned, not reactive.
And the give component? We've discussed generosity before, but how does that fit into their personal financial toolkit?
It's vital. Even with their own earnings, teens can learn to set aside a small amount for charitable giving or to help others. This reinforces the idea that money isn't just for personal gain. It can be a tool for positive impact. It cultivates empathy and a broader perspective.
So, this earn, save, spend, give framework gives them a structured way to manage their money, ensuring they're not just spending aimlessly.
Exactly. And when it comes to spending, it's also important to discuss the difference between different forms of payment. We want them to understand money not just as cash, but also as credit and debit.
That's a great transition, Alex, because understanding debit and credit is a huge part of a teenager's financial toolkit as they prepare for adulthood. We've discussed needs versus wants and smart spending. Now, understanding how to actually use and manage that money, whether it's a debit card or eventually a credit card, is critical.
Absolutely. For debit cards, they're essentially spending their own money directly from their bank account. It's a convenient tool, but it requires diligence. They need to know their balance and ensure they don't overspend, as that can lead to overdraft fees, which are essentially penalties for spending money you don't have.
And overdraft fees are a perfect example of a financial mistake that can be very costly. This reinforces why tracking and budgeting are so important, even with a debit card.
Right. Now, credit cards are a different beast. We'll delve deeper into credit in our next episode. But for now, it's important for teens to understand that credit is borrowed money. When you use a credit card, you're promising to pay that money back later, usually with interest if you don't pay the full amount you owe by the due date.
Interest. That's a key concept for them to grasp early on. It's the cost of borrowing money. So, for smart spending and earning, the takeaway for teens is about responsible earning, mindful spending, and understanding the tools they use to manage their money.
Precisely. By practicing these principles, tracking their spending, making conscious decisions about purchases, and using budgeting tools like the earn, save, spend, give model, Teenagers lay a strong foundation for a lifetime of financial well-being. They learn that money is a tool that can be managed effectively to achieve their goals and contribute positively to the world.
It's about empowering them with knowledge and practice so they can feel confident as they step into greater financial independence.
Exactly. And that confidence is key. As they learn to manage their own money, they build self-reliance and a deeper understanding of the value of financial responsibility.
So, to recap for our listeners, for teenagers, earning means understanding the value of work. Smart spending involves needs versus wants, mindful purchasing, and using a system like earn, save, spend, give. And understanding the basic functions of debit and credit cards is crucial for managing their money effectively.
That's a perfect summary, Lisa. We've equipped our listeners with practical strategies to help their teenagers develop a robust financial toolkit.
And that leads us perfectly into our next episode, where we'll be exploring the world of credit for teens and understanding the risks and responsibilities involved.
Next episode, Teens and Debt, Understanding the Risks and Responsibilities. Welcome back to Raise Money Smart Kids. Last time, teenagers learned about smart spending and earning. Now, let's tackle understanding debt.
Debt can sound a bit scary for teens, but learning about it early is important for making responsible decisions later. So, what exactly is debt for teenagers?
Debt is simply money owed by one party to another. Think of it as borrowing now and promising to pay it back later, often with extra. That extra is called interest. For teens, this commonly means credit card debt or future student loans.
So, borrowing money and paying interest. What are the specific risks for teens with this kind of borrowing?
A big risk is accumulating high-interest debt without a clear repayment plan. Credit cards can have high annual percentage rates, or APRs. If a teen spends more than they can repay monthly, the balance grows quickly with interest. It's like a snowball getting bigger and bigger.
A snowball of debt. That's a good way to picture it. How can teens use credit cards responsibly, if at all?
A credit card can help build a credit history, which is crucial for future things like renting an apartment or buying a car. This is best done with a secure credit card or a low-limit card, ideally with parental guidance.
So, building credit means establishing trust with financial institutions. How does responsible credit card use work in practice?
A responsible approach means only charging what you can pay off in full by the due date. The aim is to avoid paying any interest at all. If a teen charges something, they should immediately set aside money from their bank account to cover it. This prevents overspending and ensures they can pay the bill.
That's key, paying it off in full each month to avoid interest. What happens if they don't manage to do that?
Besides interest accumulating, late payments hurt their credit score. A lower score makes borrowing harder and more expensive in the future. A lender might see them as a higher risk and charge them more interest.
It really shows how financial decisions are all connected. So for teens, debt isn't free money. It's a loan with a cost that includes interest.
Exactly. And beyond credit cards, understanding student loans is vital. These are loans for education that must be repaid with interest, often over many years.
Regarding student loans, what should teens consider to avoid overwhelming debt?
First, explore all available non-loan financial aid like scholarships and grants. When loans are necessary, fully understand the terms, the interest rate, when repayment begins, and the available payment options.
And choosing a college impacts tuition costs, which directly affects how much debt a student might need to take on.
Absolutely. Teens should research the total cost of education, tuition, fees, living expenses, books. They should borrow only what they truly need, balancing their education goals with manageable debt.
So, for our young listeners, the message on debt is about caution, awareness, and responsibility. It's about understanding that borrowing has a cost and making informed choices.
That's a perfect summary. We want them to use tools like credit wisely to build a strong financial future, not fall into debt traps. Debt can be a tool, but it needs knowledge and careful handling.
It's a really important step in their financial journey. Understanding debt now prepares them for adult financial realities.
Indeed. Next time, we're going to explore the exciting world of investing for young people. We'll demystify making money work for them.
Sounds like a great topic. So, for next episode, we're diving into investing for young investors.
Welcome back. Last time we covered teens and debt. Now let's talk investing.
Investing. That sounds a bit grown up, Alex. I think for a lot of our younger listeners, the idea of investing might seem complicated or a little scary. It's definitely a step up from just saving money.
That's exactly why we're here, Lisa. Our goal is to make it understandable and exciting. Think of investing as making your money work for you. Instead of just sitting in a savings account where it grows very slowly, investing gives your money the potential to grow much faster over time.
So, it's like planting a seed? You put the seed in the ground, water it, and over time, it grows into a plant or even a tree.
That's a fantastic analogy, Lisa. Your savings are like the seed. Investing is like giving that seed the best soil, sunlight, and water so it can sprout and grow into something much bigger. And the longer you let it grow, the bigger the tree can become. This idea of steady growth over a long period is central to investing.
Okay, that makes sense. So, what are we actually investing in? Are we buying actual trees?
Not quite. When we talk about investing, especially for young people, we're often talking about a few main things: stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. Let's break those down. First, stocks. Imagine a company, like a popular toy maker or a favorite online store. When you buy a stock, you're buying a tiny piece of ownership in that company.
So, if I buy a stock in, say, that company that makes amazing video games, I actually own a little bit of that company?
Exactly. And if that company does well, makes a lot of money, and becomes more valuable, the value of your little piece of ownership, your stock, can go up too. This is called capital appreciation.
That's pretty neat. So, the value of my investment can increase if the company I've invested in is successful. But can it go down too?
Absolutely. And that's a crucial point. The value of stocks can go down if the company doesn't do well or if the overall stock market has a bad day. This is where risk comes in. And it's important to understand that investing always involves some level of risk. It's not guaranteed you'll make money.
So, it's not like a savings account where the money is always safe. With stocks, there's a chance of losing some of the money you put in.
Precisely. Now let's talk about bonds. Bonds are a bit different. When you buy a bond, you're essentially lending money to an organization, often a government or a corporation. In return for lending them your money, they promise to pay you back the original amount on a specific date, and they usually pay you regular interest payments along the way.
So, bonds are like an IOU? Someone owes you money, and they pay you a little extra for the privilege of borrowing it.
That's a great way to think about it. Bonds are generally considered less risky than stocks because the payments are usually more predictable. However, the potential for growth is also typically lower than with stocks. They offer a more stable, albeit slower, way to grow your money.
Okay, stocks for potential higher growth with more risk, and bonds for more stability with potentially lower growth. What about mutual funds? That sounds like a mix of things.
You're spot on, Lisa. A mutual fund is like a basket filled with many different stocks and bonds, all pooled together. Professional fund managers decide which investments go into the basket. When you invest in a mutual fund, you're buying a small part of a diverse collection of investments.
Why would someone want to buy a basket instead of just buying individual stocks or bonds?
The biggest advantage of mutual funds is diversification. Remember how we said stocks have risk? If you buy stock in just one company and that company struggles, you could lose a lot. But if you invest in a mutual fund that holds shares in hundreds of different companies, the poor performance of one or two companies won't impact your overall investment as much. It spreads the risk around, making it a much safer way to invest, especially for beginners.
So, diversification is like not putting all your eggs in one basket. If one egg breaks, you still have plenty of others.
Perfect analogy. And this diversification is a key principle for young investors. It helps to manage risk while still allowing for growth. Now, let's talk about something truly magical in investing: compound interest. This is where your money starts making money, and then that money starts making more money, and so on.
A compound interest sounds like a superpower for money. How does it work?
Imagine you invest $100 and it earns a 10% return in a year. That's $10. Now, you have $110. In the second year, you earn 10% not just on the original 100, but on the entire $110. So, you earn $11. It might not sound like much at first, but over many years, this effect builds significantly.
I see. The earnings themselves start earning interest. So, the earlier you start investing, the more time compound interest has to work its magic.
Exactly. This is why starting young is so incredibly powerful. Even small amounts invested regularly when you're young can grow into significant sums by the time you're an adult, thanks to the long-term power of compounding. It's like starting with a small snowball rolling down a hill. It picks up more snow and gets bigger and bigger the longer it rolls.
So, for young people, the best strategy is to start early, invest regularly, even in small amounts, and let compounding do its thing. And using tools like diversified mutual funds can help manage risk.
You got it, Lisa. For young investors, it's often recommended to start with low-risk, diversified investments like index funds, which are a type of mutual fund that tracks a specific market index. These are usually low cost and offer broad diversification.
Index funds, mutual funds, stocks, bonds, it still feels like a lot to take in. What are some first steps someone could take if they're interested in learning more?
Great question. First, talk to your parents or a trusted adult about your interest. They can help guide you. Second, there are many excellent, age-appropriate books and resources that explain investing in more detail. You can also look for materials that explain concepts like diversification and compound interest with more examples. The key is continuous learning and understanding how your money can grow over time.
So, to recap for our listeners, investing is about making your money work for you with the potential for growth over time. We talked about stocks, which are small pieces of ownership in companies, and bonds, which are like loans with interest. Mutual funds offer diversification by pooling many investments together. And the real superpower is compound interest, where your earnings start earning their own money, making early investing incredibly beneficial.
That's a perfect summary, Lisa. Investing can seem daunting, but by understanding these basic concepts and starting early, young people can absolutely set themselves up for a much brighter financial future. Remember, patience and consistency are key.
It's empowering to know that there are ways for your money to grow beyond just a savings account. Thanks, Alex. This has been incredibly insightful.
My pleasure. Next episode, we'll be exploring the exciting world of digital payments and the future of money. Welcome back. Last time, we dove into the exciting world of investing for young people. Today, we're looking into the future, exploring how money is changing with digital payments and online banking.
And it feels like the future is already here, doesn't it, Alex? So much of what we do with money these days happens with a few taps on a screen.
Absolutely. Think about it, Lisa. When we were kids, pocket money was almost always physical cash. Now, many kids have their own debit cards or even prepaid cards linked to apps.
Exactly. So, for parents listening, What are the first steps in introducing these digital tools to their children? It's important to build on those earlier lessons about saving and budgeting, right?
Precisely. The foundation we've laid in previous episodes is crucial. If a child understands the concept of budgeting and tracking where their money goes, transitioning to a digital wallet or a simple bank account with a debit card becomes much easier.
So, it's not about just handing them a card and saying go for it. It's about teaching them the responsibility that comes with it. What does that look like in practice for digital payments?
It starts with understanding what a digital payment is. It's essentially a way to move money electronically. Instead of handing over cash, you're authorizing a transfer of funds from your account to someone else's.
And what about online banking? It offers a whole new level of access, both for good and for potential pitfalls.
Online banking is incredibly convenient. It allows you to check balances, transfer money, pay bills, and often set up automatic savings. For a young person, it can be a powerful tool for managing their own money. Imagine them being able to see their savings grow directly in their account after setting a savings goal.
That's a great point. It makes the concept of delayed gratification even more tangible when you can see the progress online. But with this convenience comes the need for strong security awareness. We're hearing more and more about online scams and fraud.
That's a critical area to focus on. Teaching children about online safety is paramount. This includes not sharing their passwords, understanding that banks will never ask for sensitive information via email or text, and being cautious about clicking on suspicious links.
So, if a child receives an allowance digitally, for example, they might have a dedicated app where they can see their balance. They can then use a linked prepaid card for purchases. How do we ensure they're still practicing smart spending and not just mindlessly tapping away?
This is where consistent conversations and potentially parental oversight with specific tools come in. Many banking apps for younger people have features that allow parents to set spending limits on cards or categorize spending. It's also about teaching them to think before they buy, even when the money is digital. Does this purchase align with their savings goals? Is it a need or a want?
It's like an extension of the budget conversation. Instead of looking at a stack of bills, they're looking at transaction histories on a screen.
Exactly. And as they get older, they can explore more advanced digital financial tools. We're seeing things like peer-to-peer payment apps, which allow friends to easily send money to each other for shared expenses, like splitting a meal or paying back a friend for movie tickets.
Oh, I can definitely see teens using that. It's so much easier than trying to figure out who owes what in cash.
It is. And these apps often have built-in tracking features, which can further help young users understand their spending habits. But again, it comes back to responsible use. We need to educate them about the potential to overspend if they're not mindful.
Let's talk about the emerging technologies. We hear about cryptocurrencies, blockchain, that's a whole new frontier. How can parents even begin to approach that with their kids?
That's a complex topic. For now, I'd recommend focusing on the fundamentals. For younger children, the core concepts of digital payments and online banking are more than enough. As they mature, and if they express interest, parents can begin to introduce the ideas behind these newer technologies, like decentralization or digital assets, in very simple, age-appropriate terms. The key is to foster curiosity, not to push them into complex investments they don't understand.
So, it's about laying the groundwork for understanding rather than diving into specific volatile markets. The emphasis remains on financial literacy and responsible decision making, regardless of the medium.
Precisely. The tools might be digital, but the principles of financial responsibility, saving, budgeting, needs versus wants, delayed gratification, remain the same. It's our job as parents and educators to adapt those principles to the modern financial landscape. Teaching children how to navigate digital money safely and wisely is essential for their future success.
It really is. Preparing them for a world where financial transactions are increasingly invisible, yet profoundly impactful, requires a proactive approach. We've covered so much ground, from basic allowances to investing, and now looking at the digitizing of money. It's all about empowering them with knowledge and good habits.
And that leads us nicely into our final episode, where we'll tie everything together and look at building a truly financially responsible future for our children.
Fantastic. So, to quickly recap, we've discussed how digital payments and online banking are transforming how we handle money and the importance of teaching our kids about these tools safely. It's about extending the core principles of budgeting, saving, and smart spending into the digital realm while being aware of online security.
That's a perfect summary, Lisa. And as we move towards our final episode, we'll build on all these concepts for a comprehensive look at financial independence.
Next episode, a financially responsible future, tying it all together.
Welcome back to Raise Money Smart Kids. This is our final episode, episode 14, where we tie all our incredible financial lessons together.
That's right, Alex. We've covered so much ground, from allowances and saving to budgeting and even investing. It's been a fantastic journey, and now it's time to see how it all fits into building a financially responsible future.
Absolutely. Think of all the topics we've explored as different tools in a toolbox. Each one is important on its own, but their real power comes when you know how to use them together to build something solid.
So, Alex, what's the big picture here? What's the takeaway from everything we've discussed for parents and their children?
The biggest takeaway is that financial literacy isn't just about numbers, it's about values. We've consistently seen how concepts like responsibility, patience, and generosity are deeply intertwined with managing money well.
I remember in episode 2, we talked about allowances. It wasn't just about giving kids money, but about teaching them how to manage it, right?
Exactly. An allowance is a perfect, tangible way to introduce the concept of earning, spending, and saving. It's the first step in a child understanding that money is earned through effort and that choices have consequences. We learned that giving a child agency over a small amount of their own money is a powerful teacher.
And that leads directly into episode 3, the power of saving. Setting goals, whether it's for a new toy or a bigger item, teaches kids about delayed gratification and the satisfaction of achieving something through their own efforts.
Delayed gratification. That was episode 6. It's such a crucial life skill, not just for finances, but for everything. Learning to wait for something you really want, rather than impulsively spending, builds discipline and helps avoid future financial pitfalls. We saw how this even applies to larger goals like saving for college or a down payment.
We also contrasted that with needs versus wants in episode 4. That's such a fundamental concept for making smart spending decisions. Helping children differentiate between what they truly need and what's a fleeting desire is a cornerstone of responsible consumption.
And speaking of choices, episode 5 touched on fostering an entrepreneurial spirit, encouraging kids to think creatively about how they can offer value, whether it's a small service or a handmade item, teaches them about earning potential and the satisfaction of creating something. It's about understanding that money can be a result of providing solutions.
Then we moved into practical guidance with episode 9, budgeting basics. Even for young minds, understanding where money comes from and where it goes is vital. A simple budget, even just a few categories, helps them visualize their financial picture.
And for teenagers, episode 10, the financial toolkit. This is where earning becomes more central, whether through chores, part-time jobs, or small ventures. It's about smart spending and understanding the value of their own labor.
Teens also face the looming presence of debt, as we discussed in episode 11. Understanding credit cards, loans, and the interest that comes with them is so important. We emphasized that debt isn't inherently evil, but it must be managed responsibly.
That's a great point, Lisa. We want to equip them to use financial tools wisely, not to be controlled by them. This links directly to episode 12, Investing 101 for Young Investors. Understanding how money can grow over time, even with small, consistent investments, is a powerful concept.
It's about making your money work for you. And the future of money. Our discussion in episode 13 on digital payments, contactless transactions, and the evolving landscape is all about staying adaptable and informed in a changing world.
Exactly. So, how do all these pieces create a financially responsible future? It starts with foundational habits formed early. The child who understands saving and needs versus wants is more likely to become a teen who budgets effectively and avoids unnecessary debt.
And the teen who learns about investing and responsible spending is better prepared for adult financial challenges, like homeownership or retirement planning. It's a stair-step approach.
Precisely. And we can't forget the value of giving that we explored in episode 7. True financial responsibility includes generosity and understanding our role in the community. It's about wealth as a tool for good, not just personal gain.
And even mistakes, which we covered in episode 8, are learning opportunities. Falling down and getting back up teaches resilience. Acknowledging a financial misstep, understanding why it happened, and adjusting course is a sign of maturity.
So, to recap this entire series, we've laid the groundwork for financial literacy by teaching the value of money through allowances and earning. We've built a strong foundation with saving, goal setting, and the critical skill of delayed gratification. We've guided smart decision making by distinguishing needs from wants and fostering an entrepreneurial mindset.
We've equipped listeners with practical tools like budgeting and smart spending strategies for teenagers, while also highlighting the risks and responsibilities associated with debt and introducing the concept of investing for growth. We also looked ahead at the evolving world of digital finance.
And throughout it all, we emphasize the importance of generosity, learning from mistakes, and ultimately, creating a holistic approach where financial management is woven into a life of responsibility and values.
It's about raising individuals who are not just savvy with money, but who are also confident, capable, and generous contributors to society. A financially responsible future is built on these interconnected principles.
It's been an absolute pleasure guiding you through these topics. We hope this series has provided you with the tools and confidence to foster these essential skills in your children. Remember, every small lesson today builds a significant foundation for tomorrow.
Thank you for joining us on this journey into financial literacy for young minds. We're so excited to see all the amazing, money-smart futures you and your children will build.
Thanks for listening to the series.